Hello, my name is Aspen Coldiron, and today I will be talking to you about the controversy in animal antibiotics. I remember the first pet I ever got to call my own. Granted, I lived on a farm, but this was different than the animals I cared for on a daily basis. My parents were always hesitant because they would preach about the responsibility and time it takes to have a pet. While they were lecturing me, all I can remember is sitting there thinking, really? Y'all forced me to go out and bust ice and take care of all of our cattle, but you have to lecture me over a goldfish I won at the fair. That's probably gonna die in 72 hours. I didn't dare say that out loud, but boy, I really wanted to. Regardless if I wanted to hear it or not, I sat there and listened to a lecture. Also, yes, the goldfish died in a few days later, even though I took good care of it. But soon after, I got my first show goat. It was a very gruff-looking little pygmy doe. She was a light tan color and had black markings around her face and down her back. She wasn't much, but she was mine. About a month passes by and my father comes and tells me after school that it's time to give our goats some vaccinations. This was the very first time I got to be hands-on with antibiotic injections. I didn't think much of it. All I could see that we were doing was taking care of my goat the same way we had taken care of my dog when it got sick. Except we took it to the vet. We would do the same thing to our cattle, regardless if they were meant to be used for market, personal beef, or just breeding cows in the pasture. So what was the tremendous difference between doctoring my livestock and doctoring the animals I kept inside my home? Absolutely nothing. Both were sick, and both ended up receiving proper treatment. Imagine this scenario. You have a pet. Try to stick to the basics such as dogs, cats, or something similar. If your dog broke a leg or had another injury of some sort, would you not take it to the vet? The answer should be yes. Because if you don't do anything for that animal, it's cruel and inhumane. Just as you would be criticized for not taking care of your pets at home, we would be criticized for not tending to the animals in our agricultural productions. Cattle, pigs, goats, etc. However, if we do the right thing and treat them, we receive backlash. On the other hand, if we don't give them antibiotics or help them, we get slandered for animal neglect, or our practices are deemed inhumane by the press. So, if we were just taking care of our livestock, then why are agricultural operations under scrutiny for doing so? According to the FDA website on antimicrobial research, the use of antibiotics on farms and in farm-to-market livestock started in 1935, when the German pharmaceutical manufacturer Bayer released and marketed Prontosil, or sulfocridazine. It became the first effective drug against gram-positive infections, and it was a commercial success in the agricultural industry. After this, livestock antibiotics became a huge breakthrough in large and small agricultural operations across the United States. The newly found antibiotic allowed small breakouts of viruses and the larger operations to be contained. And as for the smaller, more local operations, it allowed farmers and ranchers to save livestock that they couldn't afford to lose. For agricultural business and operation owners, these newly found animal antibiotics went from skeptical trial to a miraculous practice. I know what you all are probably wondering. If antibiotics are so good, then why do I hear all of these negative statements about it and see so many people marketing antibiotic-free meat? Well, with everything good also includes something bad enough to balance the scales. According to Nature.com, the controversy of animal antibiotics started around 1966, when the editors of the New England Journal of Medicine published an article about ignoring the reality of bacterial resistance. Though there are many controversies, the original antibiotic controversy they are all derived from started when the use of antibiotics in food-producing animals have begun to receive criticism. Some people tried to say that the consumption of antibiotics from the meat they bought was the entire reason behind something called antibiotic resistance. Before I delve further, let me define antibiotic resistance. Antibiotic resistance occurs when bacteria change in response to the overuse of medicines. Bacteria mutate, become antibiotic resistant themselves, and continue to infect the human or animal. This results in the subject not being able to be ordinarily treated with regular antibiotic prescriptions. Naturally, with me preaching about the positivity and the use of animal antibiotics, this might cause the question of, if antibiotics used in animals aren't going to negatively impact my health or the quality of my product, why are they bad? To arise. This is not the only agricultural meat controversy, of course. There are numerous others, including free-range versus non-free-range chickens, genetic modifications, and slaughter practices. However, they all have one common trait. All of them are only controversial because of the negative stigma produced by false information in the media and the gullibility of the public mind. With all these controversies floating around, everyone started shopping for labels rather than the actual product inside. If all the different medias were focused on the actual issue at hand rather than the money involved, they would give out the entire story instead of just saying or writing what they want you to hear. There is theoretically no antibiotics left in the meat you consume or purchase from the grocery store. Shortly after the antibiotic controversy in 1966 started, the agricultural community and the FDA mediated the retaliations by enacting the withdrawal period. A withdrawal period is the time required after administration of a drug needed to assure that the drug residues in the marketable product is below a determined maximum residue limit. Each withdrawal period was different for the animal products being produced: milk, beef, chicken. So you see, even if there was antibiotics used in the food you consume, they would not come into our systems as antibiotics. In fact, there is no evidence that the antibiotic-free meat is healthier for you than meat that has come from animals that have been administered antibiotics. The difference is that of, do you want it to come from a sick animal or an animal that is healthy? My entire point of presenting this evening was to hopefully teach you something you didn't already know about the subject, and ask you that if you want to know something about the operations we run, have questions about your meat, produce, or anything that you as a consumer might want to know, start by asking a reliable source, not Facebook. If antibiotics were damaging to our product, then why would we give them to our animals? Our livelihood and name brands depend upon it. Antibiotics are not cheap, especially not for larger operations. If you would allow your children or yourself to take a prescription when ill, why is this any different? Animals get sick and need medical care. Antibiotics help us take care of our animals so that we can ensure the best quality product possible goes to you and your families. As farmers, we make a lot of tough decisions. How we cultivate our crops and tend to our flocks will always receive some form of criticism from those who we are producing it for. So I ask you this: what do you choose? Thank you.